What's going on, guys? Supersavage 789 here, bringing you guys another video. And today we're doing What If King Piccolo Was Never Sealed, Part 2. If you haven't seen the first part, go watch it. I don't know what you're doing here, this is Part 2. What, you an idiot or something? But if you have seen it, as you should as well, because it is peak, then we can get into the second part. So let's just do it right now. Let's just jump into it, guys. Let's just do it. The humans would be happy at the deal Piccolo had proposed. The smartest minds on the planet, such as Dr. Gero, Dr. Briefs, and Bulma to name a few, would all gather at the King's castle, where they get to work on a spacecraft. While the idea to make it purposely faulty comes to mind, if the ship falls too soon, or if they catch wind of their plan, humanity could be wiped out completely. So they comply, creating a spacecraft that can fit all of Piccolo's children. It'd take about a week, but ultimately they'd be able to leave the planet. All the mutant Namekians are gathered up, and without a second thought, the forces of Piccolo leave the Earth to venture into space. The Earthlings would hold a celebration over their liberation from the tyrant, all except for one conniving scientist, who'd recognize the power vacuum. But we'll get back to that one later. Out in space, after checking the ship is fully functional, the question arises as to where their first stop should be. Piccolo says that he wants to go to their home world, using the excuse that maybe they'll have some strong forces to join their ranks. In actuality, he has some form of curiosity about his home that previously wasn't present. Maybe fusing with Kami is slowly corrupting him. He keeps that to himself for now though. So, they would venture out through the cosmos, arriving on Namek within less than a week. On foreign ground, Piccolo would order the mutants with wings to go on a reconnaissance mission, scout out the planet for anything of note and report back to them. So Tambourine and his doppelgangers all begin flying around Namek. The Namekians all over would begin panicking, having never seen creatures like this before flying overhead. They look like demons. Any Namekian who has a decently strong power level would be put on high alert around the villages for the impending rapture to come. Nail would spot Tambourine and questions Guru about it, who would be a bit curious. He tells Nail that he's heard of mutant Namekians before, from the Book of Legend. So this must be one of them. He also tells Nail that he feels a familiar power from decades ago has set foot on the planet once more. This again piques both their curiosity. After all the scouts return to Piccolo, he orders his crew to follow him. They're going to the nearest village to begin conquering this planet. If there is anyone of note who wishes to join them, they can. Anyone else will be subjugated under them. With a battle cry from Goku, the forces all rush off, prepared for the plan. They arrive at the closest village, being Mori's, where they begin blasting houses to get the Namekians' attention. As they watch the weaklings cower, they'd all be snickering, except for Piccolo. Goku asks him if this carnage doesn't humor him, but he brushes him off, telling him to get serious. Piccolo would then begin spouting about how they're the new rulers of this planet. Anyone who opposes them will fall under their strength. Three of the Namekians step up, telling the creatures in front of them to leave peacefully. All this is a demonstration of what happens to people who step up to them. Goku fires a blast to the trio, wishing to kill them, but he quickly realizes this is well above his pay grade. The Namekians all swarm the Saiyan, easily overpowering him and taking him down in just a few blows. The rest of the mutants all attack these Namekians, but are taken down even quicker than the Saiyan commander. Piccolo notes that they aren't killing them, but brushes it off as foolish compassion. So he forces himself to step in, going all out to contest their strength. Even after fusing with Kami, he can barely match one of these Namekians in strength. So when all three of them swarm him, he's unable to do much. The Namekians, however, would abruptly pause their attacks, instead landing on the ground bowing as a sign of respect. Piccolo begins to laugh, asking if they finally come to their senses. He's then swiftly knocked out by the person behind him. Nail. A few hours later, Piccolo regains consciousness in an unfamiliar interior of a building. A loud but old voice greets him, glad to see he's finally awake. Piccolo stands up on guard, staring at Guru, who assures him he means him no harm. They made that clear of how they dealt with his squad, who are still alive, so Piccolo asks what Guru's plan is here. To keep them as prisoners? That just makes Guru chuckle. He tells the younger Namekian that he can feel the energy of a Namek who fled this planet many years ago, and now he's lost his way, consumed by darkness. Yet still, Guru can feel that good heart somewhere deep inside of Piccolo, so he wants to extend them an offer. Stay on this planet for 1 year, and in return he will grant Piccolo a strength beyond his capabilities. Piccolo asks for proof, so Nail steps in, powering up to his maximum. This is proof enough for Piccolo, so he'd agree to these terms. When telling the rest of his forces, they'd all obviously not like this, but Piccolo assures them it'll be worth it. Goku doesn't buy it though, wanting something for himself in return. Over the year, Piccolo's forces would be forced to live a traditional Namekian lifestyle. While they obviously don't like it, over time they find some peace in doing gardening. They continue their training over this time, but some of the nameless fodder would likely slack on it. As for Goku, he'd be furious at this new life. This is not a life a Saiyan should be living. so he'd spend the time training intensely, waiting for the time where he can once again reign terror. He'd even attack Nail from time to time after hearing he's the strongest, wanting to see where he compares. Every time he loses, but it does serve as decent training, especially with Zenkai's. Piccolo would also train with Nail from time to time, but he mainly focuses on learning Guru's teachings. He also spends his time going around Namekian villages to learn from them. During one of these expeditions, he'd encounter a young Namekian named Dende, who approaches Piccolo during meditation to give him some water. Obviously, Piccolo's harshed him at first, but over time Dende would continue to talk to Piccolo. This may break away a bit at the evil in Piccolo's heart, even if it's not clear at first. I think Piccolo would also develop the Makon Kosapo during this time, as a means to combat stronger opponents in the future. In space, you'll never know what opponents you could fight next. Inspired by Piccolo and his strength, Dende would begin training in secret at first. Mori would catch him eventually though, and decides to assist him in the only way he knows how. When the year is up, Piccolo would approach Guru about this deal of strength. Goku however shows up, telling them to wait. He waited just as long as Piccolo, eating whales and frogs for a year. If anyone deserves some secret strength, it's him. Nail tells him to watch his tongue in the presence of the Grand Elder, but Guru tells him it's fine. He'll grant this request, so he'd awaken Goku's potential, and after that he'd awaken Piccolo's as well. With these two getting to a new insane level of power, Piccolo would tell Goku to prepare the forces to depart. Guru however asks him to wait 1 second. He explains how he is not long for this world, so if he's going to die, he'd like to give up his autonomy to Piccolo. So he asks Piccolo if he'd be willing to fuse with him. Nail asks if he's serious, but Guru's mind is made up. It's for the best of the planet. Piccolo would agree, obviously wanting even more strength. Plus he's grown fond of the Elder over the year, better to fulfill a dying man's wishes. So Piccolo assimilates Guru, growing even further in power. For context, Goku's power level after the full unlock to be 400,000, while Piccolo after the unlock and fusion is 770,000. This might seem insane, and it definitely is, but that's honestly where I see them at right now. As Piccolo prepares to depart, he gives the offer to any of his forces to stay on this planet. Some of them are clearly more accustomed to this way of life anyway, so we lose quite a large number of the mutants, keeping only tambourine, drum, cymbal, and piano. That's for the best though, as at least we keep all the named characters. Dende would approach Piccolo, asking if he may come along with them. He's been training for a while now to learn something of use. He then shows off his healing power, which Piccolo notes could come in handy. He does warn Dende that it will be dangerous, but the Namekian boy is prepared. So if Dende is going to come with, he needs to have a suitable outfit. Using the clothes beam, Piccolo gives Dende a gi, which Dende is happy about. So Piccolo's squad depart the planet, promising to return if the planet needs them in the future. Now they're off planet, Piano asks where to now. It'll be easy to subjugate planets with Goku and Piccolo being so strong. Plus, with the other three training alongside them and catching up to their strength, it'll be a cakewalk. Piccolo states, however, that ruling over territories is boring, so he decides that they'll become mercenaries in the galaxy, doing jobs for money and growing stronger as a result. Piano protests this, but Goku's all down for it. As long as he can fight strong warriors, he's game. The other three all follow Piccolo loyally, so if they says they're changing profession, they are. Dende is also on board for this, as he doesn't really want to take part in hurting people, so the Piccolo Force become bounty hunters. They make quite a name for themselves in the universe, especially due to the majority of them being Namekians. Plus the same being a part of their ranks makes them noteworthy in their own right. One of their missions would involve them saving the planet known as Yardrat from people who call themselves the Ginyu Force. They recognize the armor as the same that Raditz was wearing, but think nothing of it, as they are pretty easy to kill. The leader of Yardrat, Paibara, would express his gratitude to the group, offering them to train with them and learn their secrets. They would decline, however, as they have too many missions to be doing at the moment. The Frieza Force would note this, and learn who the killers were, which annoys Frieza. Fair enough for the Saiyan, but he hasn't even done anything to the Namekians. He's going to make them pay. So we take a small fleet of his army and head to Namek with the sole intention of subjugating them. When he arrives, he tells the Namekians that they now live under the Frieza Force. Anyone who refuses will suffer a gruesome demise, which Dodoria showcases with a few Namekians who dare step up to him. Due to the Namekians being rather peaceful, as well as them recognizing the clear power gap between them and Frieza, they have no choice but to agree to these terms. He tells them gleefully that there is one condition to their partnership, however. Give up the Namekians who dared tussle with his forces. Obviously the Namekians know who this is, but refuse to give up the names due to their kind-hearted nature. Plus Piccolo is technically the previous Grand Elder, so Frieza has to start killing Namekians. With Mori being the Grand Elder, Neo would be assigned as his protector, so he'd tell Mori and the others to all leave with their valuables while he fights them off, careful not to name drop the Dragon Balls. Frieza calls him cocky and tells Dodoria to take care of him. As the others all escape, Neo will proceed to fight Dodoria, purposely suppressing himself to ensure that the fight drags on. After noting the others are far away, he goes full power and kills Dodoria in one attack. Zarbon would follow swiftly after, leaving Nail facing off against Frieza. Mori would telepathically contact Piccolo's squad, which takes him aback. He briefs him on the situation, making Dende begin to cry. Goku shouts at him to toughen up. He wanted to be a part of this crew. A real demon doesn't cry. Besides, it's not like they are there, so it's not exactly their issue. Piccolo goes silent in contemplation before telling Piano to direct the coordinates to Namek. This gets some questioning looks, with Goku asking if he's going soft. Piccolo says that a life constantly drifting, not caring about anything, is not the life he wants to live anymore. Allowing people to suffer for his own benefit was his father's role in life, and he was only following that destiny. But now it's time for him to carve his own path. Besides, it's not like Goku to shy away from battle, right? While Goku can tell he's being used, he laughs a little. So the gang set off towards Namek, ready to stop Frieza. Not for self-benefit or for money, but out of selflessness. And that's where we're going to leave off this part. If you guys enjoyed this series, why not hit the like button and subscribe? And write in the comments for any future what-ifs. I had to re-record literally everything after Piccolo and the squad show up to the town. I'm re-recording the day before I have to edit all of this. And this video is obviously pretty long. So, like, please hit the like button, please share it around, and, yeah, I might go and record other videos so I can get ahead of this. Bye!